So today I wanted to talk about college and how so many people today are going into college without a plan. And if you haven't picked up on by now, Work to It is a big believer in planning for everything when it comes to your career. But when it comes to college, there's no better time to be planning for your career than in college. But the reality is that so many college students do a horrible job of actually planning for a career. They end up just going to college, choosing their major, obviously going into those classes, taking those classes, working their way through college with the goal in mind of obviously getting a job out of college. And they may take an internship here and there or, a co-op, do some job shadowing, I would hope. But the majority of their experience is very sheltered. They're within the box that they fit in within college, and that's it. What they're not doing is actually preparing for the real world when it comes to graduation time. And that's a big, big, big problem. In my viewpoint, the number one thing that you need to be doing when you go to college is preparing for a career. And how you do that, I'll talk about here in a few minutes. I'll give you some practical steps on how to prepare for a career while you're in college. But let's talk about why it's so important, because I think that the concept of going to college is somewhat of a hot topic these days, the debate on whether or not you should go or not, whether it's even worth it. It is a huge investment of both time and money. So you want to make sure that you're going into it with a plan and making sure that you actually know what you're going into. Now, don't take this as you have to know everything before you go to college. Then you're overthinking, then you'll never end up figuring things out. So you are going to learn as you go. Don't take this the wrong way. But you have to have some sort of plan put together. While you're in high school, you should definitely be thinking about whether or not, number one, you should go to college, because I do agree not everyone should go to college. It's not for everyone, nor is it even necessary for some careers out there. So you want to make sure that it's something that should be a part of your plan. And if it is, then you need to really be thinking about what it is that you're going to do while you're in college and maximize the time while you're there. That's what building a plan does. And then when you're in college, your freshman and sophomore years are critical. You've got to go into those years. Your freshman year is a lot of discovery. You're figuring out, okay, what do I want to major in? You may be feeling out some courses here and there, which is perfectly fine. But I would say by your sophomore year, you're starting to get more tuned in. You should anyway, start getting more tuned in to what it is that you should be majoring in. Declare your major your sophomore year. And then your junior and senior year are hard-hitting years where you're actually going out and not only taking the courses that are related to your major, but you're also out there getting real-world experience. The combination of all of the real-world experience in addition to what you're learning in the classroom in college is what helps prepare you. But the areas that I'm talking about that people are not preparing in is true career preparation. And that means, figuring out what it is that you're meant to do for a living, making sure it's a match, and making sure that you're using your natural skills and talents. Those are the things that so many students out there flat out ignore or don't even know that that's what they should be doing as a part of their career preparation. Learning the tactical side of a career is great, which is what college does a great job of. But learning the aspect of, is this career even the right career for me? Do I truly understand what it takes to do this career? Have you actually witnessed it in the real world? Have you watched someone do the job? Have you had a day in the life? And then talking to individuals that are doing the job, learning from them, making sure that it is what it is that you're supposed to be doing. Because if it isn't, it's an awful time to discover that when you graduate. Because by that point, you've already invested the time, you've already invested the money. And that's why you see so many people that graduate from college and they're lost. They have no idea. I can say that because I've interviewed thousands of college students while they're in college, and I can see it in their eyes, that deer in the headlights type of look, because when I ask them specific questions on what led you here, Why'd you choose this major? What are your plans? What are your goals once you graduate? They really struggle. Not everyone, but a lot of them really, really do struggle with those questions. And that has showed me over the years that we do a horrible job of preparing them for a career and actually helping them to understand what it is and why it is that they're choosing to do what they're majoring in, what they're preparing for. They really don't know. They just kind of go along with whatever they're told to do or kind of guessing what they should be doing. And that's the wrong way to go about it. It truly is. So, I mean, let's stop and think about the simple question here. Why do we go to college? So this could be for college students out there right now. Why are you in college? Or for those of you that are in high school thinking about going to college, why do you want to go to college? And for those of us that went to college, why did we go to college? It's pretty simple, I would hope, what the answer is. It's to get a job. It's to prepare for a career, right? Then why do we do such a terrible job of that? Why do we do such a terrible job of preparing students while they're in college for a career? Again, don't get me wrong, the hard skills, if you're going to school to be an accountant, all those accounting classes are absolutely going to pay off at some point. You're going to learn how to be an accountant while you're in college. You're definitely going to learn, whatever other courses, the math courses, statistics, whatever else is going to help you prepare to be an accountant, those are absolutely going to pay off. But what about some of the other areas of a career that you're not preparing for? You're going to be blindsided when you graduate in those areas. That could be simple things like coming out of it and what to expect going into the corporate world, if that's what you're going into, or whatever trade that you may be going into. You really have no expectations. But what you could do, though, while you're in college, is prepare by actually talking to people doing the job that you're preparing for. Actually going to the job site and watching people do the job that you want to do someday. Actually see it in the real world and make sure that it is what it is that you're meant to do. So many students don't do that. So many of you college students and all of us that went to college, we flat out never did that. And that's why, again, once we graduate and enter the workforce, it hits us like a ton of bricks. We didn't realize that it was going to be that hard. Or unfortunately for a lot of us, we realized we made a mistake, that this wasn't the right career in the first place. And all of that could have been avoided if you just prepare properly in the right way. I believe that the reason for this and the connection is that when you're in high school, there's really no true career guidance, let's be honest. A high school guidance counselor's priorities are more on managing a safe environment, managing the day-to-day issues that they have to deal with students. When you go to school to be a guidance counselor, the curriculum is highly, highly focused on mental health and psychology and that aspect of the job. And rightfully so, let's be honest. In the climate that we're in today, I would hope that our guidance counselors are equipped to handle those type of issues because they are real and they are going on every day in our schools. So it's very important. But what that tells me, though, from my perspective as a career counselor, as a career coach, as a HR professional, as a recruiting professional, is that we're not preparing our students for careers. So they're just kind of going along blindly without much direction when it comes to navigating what career to go into and getting on the right career path. And high school may seem a little early for some of you to be thinking about that, but I think it's an important time. You're not going to have it all figured out in high school. Absolutely not. But you can start generating some ideas, but you need some help. You need some guidance to do that. And again, the high school guidance counselor isn't really equipped to help you in that area. And what they'll do, and many of you know this already that have gone to a guidance counselor for help in this area, is they'll have you probably take a quiz or an assessment. They'll have you look through some brochures. They'll have you, check out some colleges, encourage you to go visit those colleges. That's the type of advice that you'll get from a high school guidance counselor. That doesn't help much, in my opinion, to help decide on a major decision like what career to go into. You need to be doing a lot more than that. And that's, discovering who you are and then, again, building a plan around that. That's kind of what you need to be doing versus just, again, taking a quiz or an assessment. It's gonna lead you down a path that could be the wrong path. You may get lucky, and that's fine, but I don't advise that you take that that advice when it comes to career counseling. So that connection between getting poor advice in high school is absolutely connected to college. So when you get into college, our expectations are extremely low on career guidance. And what I mean by that is, so when you go to college, do you even think to go to the career services department? And if you do you really think they're going to help you? I saw a poll, well, the results of a poll the other day, that on average around 16% of college students actually visit the career services department on campus. That's 16%, so it's really low. And of that 16%, the majority of students reported back that they found that department to be extremely unhelpful. So they didn't provide much guidance at all. And I don't really blame college career services, and I'll talk about this in a minute, how they can help you, because they can. What I blame is students' low expectations coming in the door of that department, right? They came from high school where they got little direction, little advice, and whatever they did get, it kind of didn't help them at all. So when they get to college, they're expecting the same thing from their career services department, but it's not the same. For the majority of good colleges out there, your career services department does offer some value to you, and I encourage you to take on that value. So what I'm saying is there's a direct connection between what you experienced in high school when it came to career guidance to what your expectations are when you actually get to college. They're low. And so that's why only about 16% of students in college actually take advantage of their career services department. And the other reality that slaps me in the face whenever I think about it and research it and look into it more is that when you stop and think about it, colleges do a great job, awesome job, of getting students into college, right? They want to get people into the college, admit students, good quality students, obviously, because that's what makes them money. That's what keeps the doors open. It's what keeps the lights on for these colleges. So they do a great job of attracting students, getting them into college, and getting them on their way throughout the college experience. But what they do a horrible job with is getting students out of college. They're not preparing them properly to get out of college. You get them into college, you learn your trade, you learn whatever it is, that major course of study that you're studying, and then they get you out. And then bring the next class in, bring the next class in, bring the next class in, keep generating money. So, and this has been the same for years. It hasn't gotten better. But what has increased is a lot of college dropouts, student loan debt. I think one of the latest stats I saw was $44 million in student loan debt just in the U.S. It's outrageous. And a lot of students are coming out of college and all they have to show for it is, yeah, they got a diploma and they got a mountain of debt. And then they still are scratching their head wondering, was that even worth it? Was college even worth it? And if you chose the wrong career and if you didn't properly plan for it while you were in college, it may have not been worth it. You may have wasted a lot of time and money because you didn't properly plan. So college was absolutely not worth it. I know plenty of people personally, and you may as well, you may be one of these people that look back on it and realized I didn't even need that degree. It wasn't worth it. I should have, I don't know, not even gone to college. I could have gotten by with high school education, or maybe I should have just gotten a technical degree, a 2-year technical degree, or trade school or something. I mean, you get my point. So let's get back to the question, why do we go to college? You better make sure that you're going to college for the right reasons. You better make sure of it, because it's a lot of time, it's a lot of money that you're investing in, and just don't make a rash decision and decide, yeah, I'm going to college. And then, because the money for a lot of us can find you, and you can go to college. And that's great, because that's what's great about this country is that we do offer opportunity to people to get education, and I'm all for that. But make sure that it's fitting into your career plan. So in order to do that, you got to have a career plan to begin with. So I highly encourage you, or for you to encourage your child, if you're a parent, to start thinking about this now, to be thinking about, is college really the right path for me? And if it is, then that's great. We'll build a plan and make sure of it and work towards that plan. And then ultimately, it's not a guarantee, but it'll definitely help ease the mind. You can definitely change courses, that's fine. But get a plan together. Don't just blindly go into college. It's too risky. So what are some ways that you can actually plan for a career in college versus what the majority of students are doing today? Well, number one, I think that you need to start thinking about, what is the end goal? What do you want to be? Why is it that you're going to college? What is it that you're wanting to accomplish once you graduate? Even think about, think big here. I highly encourage you to think big here. What is it that you want to be? If you're going to college to major in accounting, is your ultimate goal to be a CFO? If you're going to school to major in art, is it to open up your own studio in New York City someday? If you're going to school to major in computer programming, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a coder at some point? And are you fine being a coder for your entire career because you love that? Or maybe you want to open up your own business. Is that your goal? Or do you want to move up the ranks into management within the IT department within a company? So you have to truly think about that. What is your end goal in mind here? And if you can't come up with an end goal, then stop right there and don't go any further until you can. Because then you're just going to blindly go down a path, and that's going to lead to some disappointment, I'm afraid. That's what happens to a lot of people. So again, number one, think about an end goal in mind. What do you want to do? What is your ultimate goal here? Then number two, you want to think about who you are. So make sure that what you're deciding to go to college for fits into who you naturally are. So what are some skills that you have right now? And will this major that you're going to declare in college play off of those skills? Or are you going to be doing a 180 here and be like, wow, I can't believe that they majored in that. I never expected them to do that. Or are you just kind of going into it as like a challenge for yourself, or because your brother majored in that as well and happens to be doing that for a career now? Those are the wrong reasons. You truly have to do some self-evaluation, do some introspection, move inward and discover who you are, and make sure that what you're deciding to go to college for is something that you're kind of made to do. It can be a stretch, don't get me wrong. It can definitely be a stretch. Just make sure that you can do it. Be realistic with yourself and make sure you're being assertive enough to make the decision on your own as well. Many of you may be struggling with that. Maybe a parent or a best friend or a brother, sister is influencing you so much that you feel like you can't make your own decision any longer. You feel like you're being forced to go to, whether it be to go to a certain college and to major in a certain major and to go into a certain career, when deep down inside you know it's the wrong decision. So after you thought about, okay, what is it that I want to go to college for? What is it that I want to do? What's the ultimate end goal here? And then you thought about, okay, am I built to do that? Is college going to help me achieve it? And then you thought about, okay, I am built to do this. This is all adding up. I'm feeling good about this. This is what I meant to do. When you start going down that road, you're on the right track. And then lastly, you need to think about, okay, can I do this? So start laying out an outline. So pull out a piece of paper, fire up Microsoft Word, whatever, an app, whatever you want to do. Just pull up something where you can document an outline and think about, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And then once you have a basic rough outline put together, stop and look at it and ask yourself, okay, am I willing to do this? Am I willing to invest the time and money to do this? And you'll know pretty quick if you will, because you'll have your answer more internally, like, yeah, let's do it. I'm ready. I'm fired up. I'm ready to do this. I have this mindset to where I will get this done. That tenacity is what you're looking for. If you start saying, "Oh, that looks like a lot of work. I don't know," that's a red flag. So make sure you stop and reevaluate. Make sure that you're in this thing, because if you're not, then you don't want to discover this your sophomore, junior year in college, and then end up dropping out, and then what you're left with is no degree, and if you got loans, you got to pay back some student loans. And it's sad, but a lot of people go through that. They didn't have a plan, and they go to college, and they make the realization that, wow, I made the wrong decision, and they drop out, and all they have to show for it is wasted time and a debt if they got a student loan. And that's the worst case scenario. So again, my tips here are, make sure that you think about the end goal in mind. Don't just go into it willy-nilly and think, I'll just go to college. What is your end goal here? Think far in the future if you have to. I want to be a CFO, or I want to own my own art studio someday, or I want to, I want to own my own business, or my goal is to be the CEO of a Fortune 200 company. Think about it and be realistic. I mean, don't get a little out of hand, but definitely you want to put a lot of thought into this. Be realistic, and then ask yourself if you're built to do it, and then map it out, and ask yourself, am I willing to do this? Does this look like it's something that I can achieve? And am I willing to put in the work to do all this? Because it's going to be a lot of work. If you go about it the right way, it's going to be a lot of work, and make sure this investment's going to pay off for you. And another tip I wanted to give you real quick is to make sure that you do take advantage of your career services department in college. If you're a college student, or even if you're a high school student, make a visit to the career services department on campus. And they can help you in a lot of areas. I think they do fall short in some areas. So the advice that I gave you earlier about thinking about the end goal in mind, and looking inward and making sure that you're built to do it, and building a rough roadmap and making sure you're willing to put in the work. That's the type of advice that they lack, and so make sure you do that. But what they're really good at are things like resume advice, and so helping you build a resume, and even critiquing your resume. They're really, really good at that. So take full advantage of that service that they offer. So head over to there to get their help in that area. They're also really good at helping you prepare for interviews. So the majority of these departments will put on career fairs and have on-campus interviews. And the nice thing is that they will help you prepare for those. So definitely take advantage of that as well. A lot of employers, and I know this because I've been that employer on many, many occasions, will come out to the campus, interview college students right there in the career services department. And what you can do, though, is go to the career services department ahead of that and ask questions. What can I do to help prepare for this interview? Do you know much about this employer? Can you help me research them? What do they typically look for when they hire students? Your career services department knows that because they work with these employers on a regular basis. So take full advantage of that as well. They can also help you prepare for these career fairs. Usually the big ones are in the fall, so make sure that you're, once you get into the fall semester, head right over to career services, find out when the first career fair is, and then start preparing for that. Start researching companies and leverage that department because they can tell you a ton. Another areas a lot of people don't think about are like salary benchmarking. So they'll help you a lot with thinking about, okay, and this would be good. I mean, even as a freshman, just going over there and figuring out, okay, can you give me a ballpark estimate of what I can expect to make once I graduate? Just to kind of set those expectations, realistic expectations, because if you do any research on the internet, you're going to find answers all over the place. So they can give you more of a realistic expectation when it comes to salary and what to expect in that area. I mean, you shouldn't be basing your decision on money alone by any means, but they could definitely help you in that area. So make sure you visit them for that. The other thing that a lot of people don't think about is they can help you with basic etiquette. And what I mean by etiquette is in the business world, if you're choosing to go in the business world, there's a lot of unwritten rules when it comes to business etiquette. And for most of us, we had to learn that on the job and have some embarrassing moments, or just people pull us aside and say, hey, this is kind of how it goes here. Well, you can actually learn a lot of that while you're still in college. If you just go to your career services department, a lot of them actually have training around business etiquette, whether it be online training or you can actually get in-person training. In my experience, one thing that we did a lot of was when we got our final pool of students together that we wanted to consider hiring, one of the last things we did was invite them into town for a dinner. So we would bring students in, and we did this very meticulously, but we would put them in a environment where they probably were uncomfortable, more like a formal business dinner, and meticulously placed certain individuals next to them. If they were a marketing major, then we would put the director of marketing right next to them at dinner. So little things like that to test out their etiquette. And that happens a lot. And so just a little tip for you out there, make sure that you're sharpening your etiquette skills, because there are little rules here and there when it comes to that on how to operate in the business world. And it's not just dinner either. So there's a lot of etiquette rules out there when it comes to, email, phone etiquette, meeting etiquette. There's a lot of it out there that you could benefit from, and the majority of career services departments can help you in that area. So take advantage of that for sure. Another area that career services could definitely help you in is helping you with your parents. I'm just going to put it out there. So some of us have helicopter parents that they get way too involved in our career preparation, in our college preparation phase, and I can speak to this personally a lot. So I've had many parents call me and reach out to me about their son or daughter and ask questions, and it's such a turnoff. Don't allow your parents to get too involved. It can kill your chances. So what I've seen a lot of students, not a lot actually, very few students probably, because it's not something that a lot of people are that aware of or don't take advantage of, is career services is a great liaison between an employer and your parents. And so what I would encourage you to do is, if your parents seem to have questions or if they want to get involved, direct them immediately to your career services department and a counselor in that department, and they can start answering questions that way versus going to an employer. And I would hope that counselor encourages your parent to not reach out directly to the employer. And some will do it regardless, but because they have the best intentions. They really do. They think they're helping, but they're not. So just another tip there, that you can use your career services department to be a liaison and buffer your parents from getting too involved. And don't forget, by the way, too, when you graduate college, as an alumni, you have full access to your career services department, even as a graduate. So you can continue to leverage them for support once you graduate. So pick up the phone, or if you're local to where your college was, pay a visit. They'll be happy to help you, and that can go on for as long as you need assistance, because that's what they're there for. So I encourage you to take full advantage of what your career services department has to offer, because as we talked about, that's ultimately why we're going to school. So the majority of us are forced to go to high school and get our diploma. Don't really have much of a choice in the matter, but when it comes to college, we have a choice, and you want to make sure it's the right choice. Again, you don't have to go to college, but it's not a bad idea for the right people. So make sure that before you make that decision, that you're going through the right steps, and that you're really doing some introspection and thinking about, is this the right move for me? And then make sure you have some sort of a plan, like I said, a roadmap or an outline that you feel good about, that you feel like, okay, this is good, I'm ready to go. And you have that burning desire, you have a plan, and you're ready to work to it. So don't ever lose sight of what the end goal is in going to college, which is it's to get a degree, but that degree is what's going to open the doors to your career. So don't just be laser focused, I got to get that degree, but that degree leads to your career. So never forget that. Don't make college the wrong decision like so many have, Make sure it's the right decision for you. Make that decision on your own. Don't allow others to influence you too much on what college to go to, what to major in, or frankly, to even go to college, period. You need to make that decision yourself. Be strong, be assertive, and here's to hoping that you make the right decision.